Now, I'd love to learn a little bit more about some startup war stories, I guess, in China. Do you have any stories you can share?
Yeah, sure. Well, most of the scary stuff you've heard about China is probably true. But it's also very manageable.
Yeah.
But there's been cases of times where founders just disappear.
What do you mean?
Well, they've they'll disappear with the tech, and you never hear from them again. And then when things are going a little bit bad, someone will disappear. Now that didn't happen to us, but the people I've been associated with, but it's happened in other places.
Yeah.
There's times where let's think of a war story. Let's think of a really bad one that I can tell. There's times where the company was going amazing. The tech was all on track. Basically the founders had a disagreement with one of the investors and thought he was getting too greedy, and they just decided to create a new company and just leave. It's just like that. Like that sort of thing would be constrained contractually in other places.
Yeah.
These are things that have. This is why you need relationships, because what you do is you go and lean on them and say, "Hey, man, what's going on? Look, you can't just," and they'd give you shares in the new company or hand back your shares, whereas in the US would resort to court action.
Yeah.
See, this is why everything is about relationships. When things go wrong, you have to be like leaning on your friends.
So it's not so black and white as I guess we're used to.
No, and if you do go black and white with your contractual, if you're very, hey, you damage a relationship.
Yeah.
And the chance, you don't want to be living in this startup family with some injuries that you've all caused each other. You've got to somehow smooth it out.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of times where the contract doesn't really capture what's really going on. I've been pitched by this one guy who didn't look like he knew how to do the tech at all, and I said, okay, I think I understand what you're doing. How many users do you have? And he says, 1 million. How long have you been in business for? A month. I said, wait, Tom, okay. And then I said, well, how did you do that? And then it gets that's
It's a bit murky.
You don't you don't ask those questions.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious on the face of it. You should know. If I ask those questions, I'm suddenly becoming a lawyer and attacking. I'm not part of. So what happened was he had a relationship with a data provider. A guy worked and he just, hey man, can you give me some the competitor's database and and send it my way. I've got this new service and all about that, mate. And that's what happens. You don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But data privacy, data sanctity, while it may be legally not defensible, it just goes on, and you just don't know, and there's not the same level of protection. Now, imagine coming into that and into an environment like that and not competing on that level.
You can't compete then.
You're just going to get eaten. So imagine you come, we're going to do some growth hacking. People don't growth hack in China. Growth hacking is not. Growth hacking is lean on your mate at Alibaba to give you some data, or legitimately partner with a big provider.
Yeah.
These things. I wouldn't say this in China, okay? But you as a Westerner, you need to know these things. Going out there, that this is the kind of terrain you're competing on. But you can do the same thing. So this is why I think it's a perfectly fair market. Perfectly fair.
No, that's not what you'd read in the media.
Well, you're not going to read about it in the media.
Yeah.
But it's a perfectly fair market. The same sort of tactics I think Uber woke up to what Didi was doing with respect to the army of calls they used to get for fake rides, and then they started doing the same, and then okay, let's call it a truce, okay? Once you've got to play on the same turf, and if you're coming in with Western rules, you're going to get. This is why people who come and said, "Oh, the system's rigged." The system's not rigged. The system's not rigged. The system is well defined. You just have to understand it and not bring your cultural baggage and assumptions about how the game has to work,
Yeah.
or you're going to get